Hello, my name is Ben and I had a bloody clutch problem.
How's it going, everyone? We've got a lovely Mondeo Vignale here. The owner of this motor vehicle, he saw us on YouTube. So he phoned me up and he asked me a question because he's got a fault with this car. And he asked me if I might know the answer to it. And I thought I knew the answer to it, but I didn't know the answer, if you know what I mean. But he brought it here anyway to have it repaired. The first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to run you by a video clip that he shot of the fault in this car. So you can see this clip, you'll see what's going on, and then I'm going to give you the backstory to what's been going on and how we've fixed it. So first up, without ado, let's run that clip. Alright then, you've all seen that clutch pedal stuck down to the floor. Now the actual owner of this motor vehicle, he's called me up and he's brought his car down here because he's done a bit of work to it himself. But the story goes, this car was sat parked up for several months, then he bought it, he's had to do some work himself, but from day one he was having this problem where he would drive 20-30 miles, then all of a sudden he would change gear and the clutch pedal would stay on the floor. He would then lift the pedal back up with his toe and it would be fine again for another 20-30 miles. The problem is when he looked inside the clutch, the brake master cylinder reservoir, there was no fluid loss. So he's thinking if there isn't a leak and the pedal's sticking to the floor, it sounds like master cylinder. Now the owner of this car is pretty well mechanically minded himself. So he was able to remove the actual pedal box, the clutch pedal box, and he fitted a brand spanking new clutch master cylinder all by himself. And he's bled it all up, but it's still been doing it. The fault was still there. So he's now kind of thinking, well, I'm not 100% sure what's wrong now. Is it something in the bell housing? Is it the slave cylinder? At this point, he's now phoned me up and he's asked me the question. And I'm like, well, we get a lot of slave cylinder problems here on these cars, generally speaking, because they get mullered by the taxi drivers. And they burst, they can stick, they can break up, they can collapse. So I'm kind of thinking to myself, yeah, chances are it is in the bell housing rather than the master cylinder. I actually thought master cylinder would have been my first guess as well. But now we've got that eliminated, we know there's no fluid loss, so I'm kind of guessing, yeah, let's get the gearbox out and have a look. So he's brought the car here, we thought to ourselves, right, let's get the gearbox out. Chances are there's going to be something wrong with the slave cylinder or the clutch cover plate. But before we took the gearbox out, he said to me, and it kind of like threw me in my mind, he said whenever the clutch pedal sticks to the floor, there's no drive, like the clutch is still depressed. And I'm thinking, hold on a minute, whenever one of our taxis, I mean this happens on our taxis as well, the clutch pedals get stuck to the floor. But when they do, if it was in like second gear, the car would still be able to drive, it'd still be in gear, the clutch wouldn't actually be disengaged. But on this car, when the pedal's on the floor, the clutch is actually still disengaged, like there is pressure holding the clutch down. So it was kind of like, hold on, I've not had this problem before. I thought that was a bit odd. But what we done was, we decided to take the gearbox out anyway, because we thought, let's change this slave cylinder, let's have a look at the clutch and see what we can find. Obviously, once the gearbox was out, I can't see nothing wrong with the slave cylinder. The clutch, there was still plenty of meat left on it. But when I looked at the flywheel, this is the big problem I did find. Although this has got absolutely nothing to do with the actual pedal sticking down, but the flywheel had actually, the two halves of the dual mass flywheel had twisted. There is quite a substantial amount of play in this. And also, the bolt holes were completely covered by this outer plate. It had covered the heads of the bolts. So if you see what I mean, if I wanted to get the bolt in, say, this hole here, it's going in at a pissed angle. And I had to literally get a screwdriver, quite a big screwdriver, and try and prise this round so I could actually get a socket on the bolts and pull the bolts out. And actually I can't even get this one out again there. But yeah, this car has done just short of 30,000 miles. Never have I seen a flywheel that has actually like slipped on the bearing and actually covered the bolt heads up at this low mileage. This is the kind of, usually when I get this, they've done like 80,000 miles plus. And although there's like more play in this than there actually should be, this flywheel wasn't rattling. There is a bit of play in the centre of the bearing and there is a bit of slap in it, but it wasn't rattling at all. So at that point I've kind of thought to myself, okay, I think we're nowhere near actually resolving the clutch pedal issue, but the flywheel is knackered. Like I say, this car's done less than 30,000 miles, and for the two halves of the flywheel to have spun on each other and cover the heads of the bolts makes me think at some point, maybe from new, maybe this was an ex-demonstrator. Maybe every man and his dog, or someone's got in it and has been dropping the clutch, abusing it, driving it hard. I don't know. All I can go by myself is our own taxis here. I mean, our taxis get abused, and I don't see this. We don't get no clutch problems, at least until gone 80,000 miles. And even then, not every flywheel's in that kind of condition. A lot of the flywheels we take off after 100,000 miles, they haven't covered the bolts. Some have, obviously, if you look at one of my videos, which I'll put here. But yeah, it was bizarre. I thought, how can a flywheel get to that kind of condition in 30,000 miles? Anyway, I was still on my mind, why is the clutch pedal sticking to the floor? Okay, right, let's not get too excited here. You know, you have them moments where all of a sudden you think, eureka, this is it, this is the problem. Unfortunately not. I thought I'd take this off anyway, because I wasn't exactly sure what this done. And there's kind of limited information out there on it. But apparently when you put your foot down hard, it's got to be hard on the clutch pedal, the actual pressure of the clutch fluid going through this, it pushes like a disc in here, and it relieves some of the pressure, to put it simply. So it gives you a smoother clutch operation. And not all Mondeos actually have these fitted, but this one does. So it's something that it helps the transmission, the shock and everything going through it from if you're booting it. But anyway, I thought I'd have a look at this because I've had nothing to do with these. I don't know if this could be the problem, but here's the thing. When I took the pipes off either end, lo and behold, it's straight through. I don't know if the camera's good. Yep, if you can see that, it actually goes straight, the fluid will go straight through. So it's only when you actually boot the clutch pedal down hard, or you know, it's gonna actually push the fluid inside this housing to relieve the pressure. I thought I'd have a quick look inside this anyway. Seeing as this is the old one, it's only going to go in the bin. I've had to stick a nut in here to see if I can unscrew this. So let's come up. Flipping heck, it's undoing. I know this isn't the problem, but I just wanted to take it apart anyway, just for the hell of it. So we've got an O-ring here, threaded part. But there's not a lot in here. A disc. Oh, a disc and an O-ring. So yeah, the fluid. If you boot your clutch pedal down, the fluid will come in through here, the excess pressure, and it will push this disc. Like, let me show you. It will push that disc against this piece here, which is actually, yeah, that's springy. It's under like spring pressure. So that comes off. It should do. Come on, yep. There we go. there's a spring in there. So it just pushes the fluid against spring pressure to relieve the pressure basically, and make the clutch operation smoother. But this isn't our problem. So, well, I don't know what to say. I've taken it apart so you can see what's inside of one. Not bloody much. One thing that kept going through my mind, this clutch hose, I'm going back to what Ben said about the actual, when the pedal was on the floor, the actual clutch was disengaged, so there was no drive to the car. And I'm thinking it must be some pressure to hold that clutch disengaged with the pedal sat on the floor. So I remember back to, we used to have a Rolls Royce here, and there was a brake hose, just like this one, and it would break inside. So the fluid would go one way, but the brake would splay out inside, so the fluid couldn't return properly, and you'd get a badly binded brake. The only problem is, the problem on this car, after we'd done the clutch and everything, wasn't there. So I kind of disregarded that, but it was something that did cross my mind at the time. Anyway, that was it. That's where I cut the video. I kind of ended it, because the problem is, if I go right back to the beginning, when Ben first turned up here with a car, I got in his car and I drove it backwards and forwards in our yard. And the pedal, on 2 or 3 occasions, it didn't actually stick to the floor, but it was kind of like wasn't returning properly. It felt weird, you know, like delayed action to return sort of thing. So we got the car in, took the gearbox out, we put the new dual mass flywheel on it, new clutch, new slave cylinder. Sure, the dual mass flywheel was bollocks, without a doubt. The clutch cover looked like it had been over adjusted, to tell you the truth. The springs were a fair way round on the cover, you know how they ratchet round when they self-adjust. But the actual clutch plate, it looked a bit iffy, but it looked okay. The slave cylinder couldn't fault it. So, by the way, this flipping bias proportioning valve, whatever they want to call it, we changed that anyway because it had that hose in it, and I wasn't 100% sure about that hose, and it wasn't that much money anyway, so we thought we'd bung that on it anyway, just eliminate it. Put it all back together, and I thought to myself, everything's fine. I took it for like a 10-mile run. The clutch pedal was absolutely perfect. I left it here overnight, the car. I tried it again in the morning, and the clutch pedal felt perfect. Couldn't fault it. So I thought, well, it's fixed. But the problem is, I wanted to make this video, but I had to stop it, if you know what I mean, because I never had a definite, that's what it was. I just couldn't put my finger on the answer, and I never had nothing to put my finger on, so I thought I'd better just leave it. I said to Ben, well, it all seems to be fine, although I haven't actually got an answer to why it was sticking on the floor. So anyway, Ben come along, took his car away, thought nothing more of it. I thought it was fixed, to be honest with you. The next day, he messaged me and he said, sorry to bother you. That's how the conversation starts. He goes, the problem's back. He goes, I've just done 120 miles, perfect. He had left his car parked up for about 7 hours, got back in it, and it was playing up every single gear change for about the first 4 or 5 miles, so he says. Then the next 25 miles, it was perfect again. I thought, this is a bit odd. I said, is it doing it all the time? He goes, no, it only done for 4 or 5 miles, but every gear change now instead of the odd gear change. So I said, right, well, there's one piece left on this clutch system we haven't even changed, which I don't think it's nothing to do with it, but I said, there's a little pipe that goes onto the slave cylinder. I'll show you this pipe here. Right, this pipe here we actually keep in stock. This is the part that bit there pushes into your slave cylinder. Then you bleed the fluid out from here after you've changed whatever you're doing. If you change the clutch, you bleed it here. And this little end of the pipe here goes onto like the hose, wherever it is, there. This hose will actually pop into there, and then that goes round to your bias valve or proportioning valve. Anyway, this is the only pipe left on the car that has not been replaced. So I'm looking at, well, I thought about it and I thought to myself, Nah, what the hell can go wrong with this? Anyway, so I said to Ben, we could just change this. And Ben said, hold on a minute, I've got an idea. And this is where it gets interesting. Ben said, this car's only got 30,000 miles on the clock from new. It's a 16 plate. I'm going to find out, he said to me, I'm going to find out the history on this car. If any work has been carried out on this car, it would have been done at a Ford dealer under warranty. So that's what he done. He found the Ford dealer where the work was done, and there has been work done on this car. Are you ready for this? At 15,000 miles, this car had a new clutch, a new dual mass flywheel, a new master cylinder, and new gear linkage, and this pipe here was replaced also. You're kind of thinking, why was this pipe replaced? Unfortunately, because of data protection, the Ford garage were unable to give out the actual information as to why all these components had been replaced at 15,000 miles. I'm kind of thinking to myself, how does the dual mass flywheel get bollocksed in 15,000 miles? It's now on 30,000 miles, I've just got the gearbox out, and the flywheel's knackered. I can only put that down to the fact that it's had an animal driving it from new. Once this, whoever was driving it, I'm putting it down to abuse. That's all I can think, really. When this, whoever was driving this car to start with, did not own this car no more, the car went to a yard or a compound or somewhere, it was sat for a number of months, then Ben come along and bought this car. He's had this problem with this clutch pedal from day one. So he's bought the problem with the car. He's been looking into it and trying to get this fixed, trying to get this resolved. Anyway, he has tried numerous times to bleed the system himself. And I think I said earlier, he's quite technical and quite mechanically minded. He removed the steering column, the clutch pedal box, and he fitted a brand new master cylinder to this car himself before he brought it to me. So we can pretty much eliminate the master cylinder. We know the slave cylinder's fine now, we know the flywheel's fine, we know the clutch was fine, because I'd done all that here. And I drove it around, it was fine. Ben drove it for 120 miles and it was fine. Anyhow, let's just cut to the chase and get to the answer, because we've got the answer. Here's what Ben done. He took the car away, he took it home. Obviously, once it's still playing up, he decided to remove all the pipe work from the master cylinder down to the slave cylinder. And this pipe here that goes onto your slave cylinder, he's actually taken it apart, literally taken it apart. And on this picture just here, you see the little red collar with the little black thing in it. That little bit of black thing is a piece of an O-ring. Now, that collar sits right in the centre here of this like bleed nipple assembly. You've got to imagine this sits on top of your slave cylinder, on top of the gearbox. You'd bleed it from here, you'd bleed the clutch from here. That little collar is like a restrictor that sits in here. The diameter is much smaller than the diameter either side, or it's a lot smaller than this pipe's diameter. Okay. Here's what we believe happened. At 15,000 miles, when this car went into a Ford dealership and had the clutch and flywheel and this, that, and master cylinder and all this stuff replaced, we believe that they dropped or they nicked the seal here, this little O-ring here. They've broke it, and a part of it has fallen inside the slave cylinder. They've then put this pipe back on without looking, discovered that they're trying to bleed it and they've got a leak here. So they thought, they've got a new one of these pipes, haven't they? They've now replaced this pipe for a new one, because I think you can't get this O-ring without buying the whole pipe. That's a Ford thing, they like that. They're not going to sell you an O-ring, are they, when they can sell you the whole pipe? So they've now fitted a new one of these. But the piece of O-ring that was broken is still inside the slave cylinder. Can you believe this shit? Yes. So anyway, they've put the new pipe in. It's obviously made a seal. Now it's got a good O-ring on it. They've bled it all up. It's probably been fine for a little while. And I think what's happened is, as the clutch pedal has been pushed up and down, that little piece of O-ring, it hasn't been stuck in here, in this little red collar in here permanently. It's been kind of like moving about inside this piece of assembly. And then finally it's got stuck, it's got wedged inside that little collar. So that explains why this was such an intermittent problem. What can I say? This was human error, because whoever had have removed this in the first place to change the clutch, you would have thought that they would have actually looked at this seal to see it was actually okay. And I'm kind of taking an educated guess here that that's what's happened. Anyway, I want to say, fantastic, Ben. Ben's quote is, the only time I've ever been beaten in my life is when I wasn't there. Good on you, because he hasn't been beaten by this problem and he wasn't going to let this problem get him down. He found the answer to it in the end. It's cost a few bucks to get there, mind you, but he's found it. He's happy now. He's been out for over 150 miles and he says it's been perfect. He's been keeping me informed all along of what's going on. So a lot of the actual pictures that I'm showing on this screen, he has sent me. So I found it interesting. It was one of them problems that just niggles you. You just want, it's like an unbelievable problem. How can this be happening? And he's found it. Now it all makes perfect sense. You know, like he was saying, when the clutch pedal was stuck on the floor, there was no drive to the car. That makes sense now because the fluid wasn't being allowed to return, so the pressure was still holding the clutch cover disengaged. Anyway, I wanted to tell this story because I just found it interesting. It's just one of them little stories that you keep talking about until you get bored of it. But anyway, fantastic, Ben, for finding that. That was wonderful. I am so happy for you. You've now got a car you can just go where you like, no problem. Brilliant. Anyway, that's it, guys. That's all I have to say on the matter. Till the next time then. See ya.